This is the Three Skeevers podcast.
All right, episode 33 of the Three Skeevers podcast with Grim from Grimsforge Gaming and myself, Icy with Icyfire Gaming. How you doing, Grim?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I guess I'll just do two quick announcements. Just to start. We do have the audio version of the podcast available on Anchor. You can find that in the link below in the description. And I did just release a video earlier this week on how to level up your werewolf. Shameless plug, I know, if anyone's interested on getting their werewolf from level 1 to level 10. So, what'd you think about my video, Grim?
I liked it. It was really good. I like the thumbnail, I like the editing. So you're picking this up really well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, and to introduce our guest today, we have Parfax. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. How's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. What do you think about Blackwood? Or I heard somebody say today, Whackwood.
Well, as anybody that has paid attention to my YouTube videos or anything like that, they probably can guess that I've basically just been trying to get the Sithis Helm. I am on attempt 16. Actually, I've completed 16 attempts to try to get the feather through the Dark Brotherhood. I've not gotten it yet, so I haven't really got to experience too much of it because I've just been leveling up the Dark Brotherhood over and over and over again. But I've done some portals, and I got a companion. Ironically, the first companion that I got was Bastion, who absolutely hates it when you kill people, innocent people.
Oh,
so
my
so I have to put him away every time I'm doing my Dark Brotherhood stuff. But it's been okay. I'll hopefully get to enjoy it a little bit more once I get my Sithis Helm eventually.
So I'm not too familiar because what I like to do when new DLCs come out and they introduce mythics, I usually wait like a month or two when everyone else so I'm not in there in the rush when it first comes out. So you have to actually do the Dark Brotherhood quest to do in order to get the Sithis Helm, or what's the process for that?
Oh, so I put out a semi-rant. Well, I shouldn't say semi-rant. It was a full rant video. So basically, you have to get the Dark Brotherhood to level 4, and there's a vendor that you can go in there. And apparently, if you talk to the vendor, they'll give you a piece of gear and has a chance to give you has the chance to give you the lead. The problem is it's a 20-hour cooldown. So you either have to continuously do it on all your characters, which takes a couple hours for each one, and you're still not guaranteed to get it. So basically, I'm at the point now where I've done it on a handful of characters. Now I just got to wait every 20 hours to go there and check the vendor to see if I actually get it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, I was a little upset when it first happened. I was like, "There's no way this is actually what they did, right?" I'm like, I guess I wasn't here for the Pale Order one. I did get like the Ring of the Wild Hunt as soon as it came out, but I guess there was one where like only one person could get it every 5 minutes or something like that. But even there, at least you could sit there for hours and get it. Where this one is just kind of like, well, I have to wait 20 hours before I can try again.
Yeah, I remember Grim was rushing to get the Pale Order, I think that was the one, and he's just kind of spamming the interact button the whole time. And I just got my Pale Order ring maybe like 2 months ago, so clearly several months afterward, and literally I was there, nobody was around, I picked it up and I was out. It took me like 10 seconds. So
oh yeah. Oh god, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that that's kind of like why I like to wait. I'm not really too into getting all the stuff immediately. I usually just wait like a while, just because I usually PvP a lot, and that kind of keeps me going most of the time. And I usually get to the actual DLC content months down the line.
Yeah, I actually just got my Pale Order ring not that long ago too, and I know just exactly what quest that is now. Thinking kind of back on it, it's like a little piece of paper that's on a table or something like that in one of the dungeons. Okay, so yeah, I guess that one spawned every 5 minutes. Luckily I didn't have to do it there. It was there when I got there, so wasn't too bad for me. But I could see how that'd be very upsetting to some people.
Yeah, especially when it first comes out and everyone's trying to get their hands on it.
Yeah, there's one lead that you have to pick up, like Water Hyacinth and Nirnroot, and I think it's Murkmire. And when you go there, there are just people stacked on each of the Water Hyacinth nodes, and there's like 2-3 people stacked on each one, just spamming their E, waiting for it to come up to see if they can get the lead.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
it's funny.
I've been wondering why I've seen like so many people in Murkmire, and I'm just like, why would anybody go there? That doesn't make any sense. But all right, now it's all piecing together now. Yeah, I'm glad I'm gonna wait 2-3 months before I actually go and get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of leads will be really easy. Actually, it might be Shadowfen. I think Murkmire might be the fishing one. You have to get one via fishing, which isn't too terribly hard. But one of the zones you have to get the the water hyacinth or nern root from it, and it's just there's just people lined up everywhere. It's quite funny. It's it's still at least people are getting together. I know they're not really happy when people walk up to their spawn, but at least people are getting kind of together and farming them out.
Yeah, gotta hustle, man. Gotta hustle.
So you're a content creator. You've got content on YouTube. It sounds like you've done Twitch as well, right?
Correct.
How long have you played ESO?
So I started back in beta, and I was only for like one of the first 2 betas. Ironically, I was extremely upset when Elder Scrolls was coming out because I was a big Elder Scrolls fan, but I only played on console. I never had a PC. I played like a little bit of like Diablo 2 and some like Warcraft 3 and stuff like that with just a random laptop. And this is the game that actually made me buy a PC. And once I bought a PC, it was just kind of like over. I just never went back to playing console. But yeah, so I played it starting in beta. I played like a massive amount of time up until right after Imperial City came out. I was kind of disappointed with it and kind of burnt out from the game at that point. And then I just been kind of playing off and on to the last like 4 months now. And I've been playing pretty hard since then.
Okay. What's your favorite content? Is it PvE, PvP, RP? What do you like doing?
So originally I played hard. Well, I started off like Skyrim, right? Just kind of derping around and having some fun doing quests. And then I found this one friend who's like, "Hey, you want to get this trial?" And I've never played an MMO. I was like, "Cool, let's do it." And I got obsessed with trials. And I got as far as, there was a trials tournament. I was in it. We won it. We were first on the leaderboards. I was like as elite as it came, especially with Stamina Nightblade, like DPS. I went and we were raiding for 6-8 hours a day, then doing Dragonstar Arena for another 3 hours a day. And it was just like pushing every leaderboard possible. And it burnt me out so bad. And ever since then, it's basically been PvP. There's nothing like creating your own content. Even if you go in like Battlegrounds where it's kind of, the same content over and over again, it's still every time you go in there, it's a little bit different. And especially in Cyrodiil, where you're not just interacting with 8 other people or 12 other people, 11 other people if you count your 3 people on your team, but you're interacting with hundreds of people. And it's just so much fun to go out there and just PvP nonstop. And I do PvE as well. Like I've done the arenas. That's really got me back into the swing of things when it comes to the PvE side. I've completed, Vatashram, I don't know, 40 times or something like that, and Maelstrom Arena as well. But mainly my goal is like PvP.
Okay. When did you start creating content?
So, funny enough, I started creating content like a couple months after the game originally launched. And there was a post on the forums about weaving. And there was just this, I think he was one of the creators of one of the add-ons, and he was like, you could animation cancel your abilities with an auto attack. And I'm like, what is even an animation cancel? Because I played Call of Duty and some random like RPGs, but I'm like, I'd never heard of even animation canceling. So I kept trying it. Finally, I got it down, and I was like, man, I should just create a video about this. And so I did. And then I basically just kind of created videos on and off. I don't want to say that, they always say like you were born with a silver spoon. I kind of was way back in the day. My first ever video right now has 7,000 views. I have a couple videos after that were only like 1,000. And then you look at a span of time, and I'm talking, it's only like 2 or 3. And you look for a span of time for the next like 10 or 15 videos, they all have 20,000 plus. And part of that's because of Deltia. I mean, I kind of started talking to Deltia back before he was really much of a content creator at all. He's just kind of on the scene, and I was big into trials, and that's kind of helped him out with the PvE side. And once I started to go into PvP, he was like, "Hey, would you mind making this build?" And I'm like, "Sure." So I'd make this build, I'd put on YouTube, and all my content for the most part's been just like, I just like to help people out. I like to make fun builds, off meta builds, and I'll put like semi meta stuff on there too, because people need to know what the meta is, but I just like to help people out and do that kind of thing. That's kind of where it all started, was the how to increase your DPS, I think, when I named the title.
Okay. Yeah, knowing the line and walking the line, right? You don't have to play meta. Play something off meta as long as you're having fun. So,
Right.
So,
um,
question about the light attack weaving thing, because I know now when you're leveling a character, they kind of give you like a little tutorial, like a tip at each level, and at one of the levels they tell you about light attack weaving. Was that not a thing back in the day?
They wanted to get rid of it. They tried
What?
everything to get rid of the animation cancer. They had talked about it on like their streams and stuff like that. It's just something they wanted to get rid of and they couldn't. I just think it was a system thing and they couldn't get rid of it. It was something that was it wasn't taboo because you were 100% allowed to do it. It wasn't an exploit or anything like that, but they didn't like it at all. And they
yeah,
tried to get rid of it and they couldn't get rid of it. So they just kind of embraced it.
unintended effect or something like that was what they were saying, and so I remember
What?
that.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like being able to light attack weave deliberately in this game kind of sets it apart from other games. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's
if you couldn't light attack weave, then ESO wouldn't be what it is.
and especially if some skills feel so different from one another when you light attack weave them. And like if you want to weave snipe, for instance, it's really easy. The first one's the hardest, but then all you got to do is like hold down left click. But then there's some ones that there's different timings on each one of them, and I think it brings a lot more skill into the game, in my opinion. And Elder Scrolls isn't necessarily known for wanting to really push skill gaps. It's a very I don't put like not a new player friendly game, but a very like not hardcore player friendly game. The game is pretty much 80 to 90% of it's very, here go quest here, random quest here. We have normal dungeons, normal trials, and everybody can do everything. That's basically what they've always been about. So the weaving they didn't like, but I really enjoy when there's always something that can kind of set you apart. And as somebody, I was telling Grim this yesterday, that I'm like a grinder. Like I've never been especially skilled at anything, but I've always typically ended up in the top of whatever I'm doing. Not necessarily the top, but I've always ended up sort of towards the top just because I was able to outwork everybody. And when it came to weaving, I got so obsessed with it. And this is before you could attack innocent people. They didn't have any of that in the game yet. I would just go around, especially like Rawcaw, because that's where everybody was at in the beginning of the game. If you were on all the Minion side, and I would just weaved no matter what I was doing, whether I was going to the bank, whether I was just sitting around waiting for trials, because half the time when you do trials, it's, waiting. You wait as long as you're actually in the trial for the most part. I just sat there and I light attack weave. It was whatever skill. I just kept doing it over and over and over again. And it's really cool. And then I got to the point where you could light attack weave anything with like no brain activity. I did it so many times, hundreds of thousands of times.
Icy can appreciate that. He's that the quote that I told you yesterday, and it applies to the gym industry. It's drillers make killers, and the people that approach it like that, you just continually try and perfect it and hone that skill. They're very dangerous, and Icy was doing that with his PvP rotations and stuff like that when he first started, and he was just relentless with it.
Yeah, dude, I remember the training sessions that we did a year ago. At this point, or I guess even a year and a half. And I remember you showing me the the light attack puncture into Bash, and I could see like how how quick and awesome it looked, but I just couldn't get it. And then I was getting it like once every like 6 or 7 tries, and then I went like, man, like, and I'm expected to do this in an actual fight. That's impossible. I can barely do it on a target dummy. But you just keep practicing, 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 and now I don't even think about it. It's just something I just do instinctively all the time, no matter what I'm doing. So it's kind of cool to see that progression. Where looking back to where I used to be and where I am now, it's pretty cool, pretty neat.
Yeah, and coming back to the game for so long, my weaving was horrible. Like it was, I don't know if something changed or just because the other games that I played, I weave too fast. I'll auto attack before the 1 second kind of global cooldown's up. So then it gets this kind of like weird timing where I'm just basically spamming my spell and never actually auto attacking. But when I was running Vet Vadishram, I was running it on my Magic Nightblade, and a lot of the fights are really simple. There's not really like a ton of mechanics, especially if you have a decent amount of healing and DPS through them. So I was able to light attack weave and practice that so much that it really just helped me out so much when it came to especially PvE DPS. I was able to just consistently, as light attack weaving every skill, and I was still missing because I haven't done it enough, but I was able to at least, get it in my head, and it was actually getting a lot smoother and a lot less like, okay, now you got a light attack, now you got to hit your ability. It's a lot more just like no brain activity, just kind of doing it.
Do you use any add-ons to help you with your light attack weaving?
I honestly didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, LOL. Yeah, so I didn't know about it in the beginning when I first started, but I kind of just learned about it maybe 6 months ago at this point. So one of them is light attack helper. So it'll kind of give you a little counting metric, or what your light attacks are per second, and I think you want to get it as close to one light attack per second as you're weaving your abilities in between and stuff like that. And then another one is combat metronome, which is one of the ones that I like to use, and it kind of just helps you fine tune that sweet spot on when you want to actually uh, do your light attack. And I think I'm not sure if there's a third one or not, but I know when people are PvEing and they want to really hone in on getting those like high top parses and stuff like that, they use things like light attack helper just to help them improve on their individual like skill parse and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat. I don't really recommend using it in PvP because it's not really too useful there, but if you're certainly practicing on a target dummy, then yeah, light attack helper and combat metronome. I think GCD bar is another one too, or add-ons that are pretty useful for helping you with that.
Okay, yeah. I think I saw somebody, they were doing like a Sork video about weaving crystal frags, and he brought up something that was like, he had like 1.12 or something like that auto attacks per second. So I imagine that was one of the ones that you were talking about.
Dang, that's really good, dude.
Yeah, it was super close to 1. I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it was like almost 1 second exactly with a crystal frag.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's really cool.
Because I think what crystal flags, 1.1 second or something like that for cast time?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I know it's pretty long, but then I feel like sometimes I just like pressing crystal frag anyway. You just want to turn your brain off and just kind of have fun and not really worry about it. Just keep spamming crystal frags because I feel like that's an okay spammable without weaving or nothing. But that's kind of me just trying to relax.
Yeah, it's really hard.
I've never done trials on a serious basis. I've joined Grey Glory, and I've joined some other guilds and done trials, just as a social outing and fun time. But I'm the guy that shows up in my PvP gear and does my 20k DPS and just kind of low-key hopes that everyone wipes except for me so I can have a Rambo moment. That's me showing up to trial. So I don't I've never actually jumped into trials and like, man, I got to get this gear and I got to do that and I want to push 80k DPS. Maybe that's what I should do. I should look at that. I don't know.
So you're telling me you're the guy that when everybody wipes, you're just dodge rolling and staying alive for as long as possible whenever it's like, Grim, please just die.
Oh no,
Please.
they don't do that. Every time that's happened, they start cheering Rambo, Rambo. They want to see it happen. They'll sit there for 45 minutes. They want to see me solo it.
Our tank used to do that. Everybody would wipe and it'd just be the tank left, and it's like, you're not going to kill the boss. Why make us spend an extra 10 minutes trying to solo the boss you can't actually solo? But
yeah, see, they're like, oh, Grim's out there having fun. That's cool. So they get up and go get a coffee, I'm sure. But so you said Deltia was on the scene. Were there other content creators that kind of inspired you, or like people that you were watching at that time? Can you think back to then?
Cypher and King Richard a lot as well, and oh man, Lefty Lucy.
Yeah,
I've had pretty much interactions with them, a lot of them. I did a really funny video a long time ago, and I said some joke one-shot video that I used at that time, all the abilities that weren't very good. Trap Beast was laughably bad. I forget all the rest of the skills, but and it was a Trap Beast and Blood Altar build basically. And I was like, you can turn Cypher Cypher PK into Cypher JK, and it had everybody laughing. Yeah, I was actually in Cypher's stream. I don't know, it was about a year ago, and someone randomly, I'm a lurker a lot of the times. And I was just lurking in there, and someone was like, "Do you remember that video where you're like Cypher JK?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember that video. I did it." But
Wait,
yeah,
so
those guys, I loved them.
so you said like a one-shot thing, but then you said Trap Beast and Blood Altar, so I'm very confused.
It was a joke. Like it was. So what I did was my wife had an
okay,
account.
okay.
Yeah, my wife had an account. We went to Cyrodiil, and none of the abilities even inner fire was like on your bar for no reason. Like I put like no champion points in, and no like attribute points with no gear. And I had her run around, and I made it very clear that it was a joke video. Some people still thought it was a real video, and they loved me in the comment section. But I had my wife go out there, and she like run in a circle, and then she did slash play dead. And then I walked over and I teabagged her afterwards.
Oh, Christ,
it was
that's
great.
funny.
Oh. Yeah, it was funny. It was really cringe, but it was quite funny.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Man, that's the OG squad right there, talking about King Richard and Lefty Lucy and Cypher. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, Fangrush was also part of that kind of squad of killers running around. I remember I ran into Cypher out in Cyrodiil a handful of times, and then I was super excited to run into him every time. It reminds me when you're rolling up on a location where he's at, it's kind of like the Top Gun movie, and you see all these jets chasing Iceman or chasing Maverick. Like here's Cypher dodge rolling around a rock and then jumping up here and killing one and then disappearing and going over here killing one, and you're just sitting back going, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was one day I was just I don't know if I was recording a video or I was practicing one of my builds, and a group ran past. I was doing like a gank, just basically a basic gank video, and Cypher rolls up, and I didn't even look at his name, and I one shot him, and I immediately knew it was Cypher because I got like 8 whispers, like, "Oh, stream sniper, stream sniper." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I didn't realize he was even streaming, and then I one shot him. So then I waited till he came back, and then I dueled him, and I lost because in a not dueling setup, but it was pretty close. But yeah, it's pretty funny. They couldn't even react, just instantly dead, and
Yeah.
kind of like it is now.
I'd never run into Lefty Lucy, but I ran into King Richard. He would sit outside. Do you remember when Imperial City, the only way to enter it was the doorways in Cyrodiil, and you had to ride? Like if you were backed up all the way to your main keeps in Cyrodiil, you'd have to ride all the way from there out to the door, and he was just camping, waiting for people to go in the door. And as soon as they interacted with the door, he'd gank them.
Oh man, it was great. King Richard loved the sewers. Like he loved it. Cypher was more of a open world Cyrodiil person, but King Richard loved it. Yeah, and back in the day when you actually had to go into Cyrodiil and then actually go to the tunnel, there was only 3, right? Each zone had 1, or maybe it was 2. I can't remember.
Yep.
But it was a great gank spot because people were just going there to get into the sewers, and there was just always people ganking there.
Yeah, I was level 20 EP one time with King Richards. This was my last interaction with him. I think he quit after that, but I was level 20, new to PvP, and I'm just in there killing mobs and stuff like that. That's before I realized, the proper way to PvP and the proper way to farm Telvar, I guess. But I come into a room and there's a guy fighting like 6 EP, 6 of my faction. And I'm just sitting back watching this guy kill everybody. And so I'm like the kid from The Simpsons that doesn't realize he's in trouble, or I'm in danger. I literally just go up and I'm standing like, 30 foot from the action, just watching this guy kill everyone. I'm like, that's awesome. And he changes direction to me, like looks at me and then just kind of sizes me up and then just buffs up and moves on. And I was like, I don't feel right about that. And so I shot him in the back with an arrow. I was like, well, you're gonna have to kill me too. so I fought him on a level 20 and he just smoked me and then went on. Like it barely even took anything. So that was my interaction with King Richard. I wish those guys would come back at least for guest appearances or something,
Yeah, what a lot of people don't know is King Richard used to play on a controller as well.
Did he really?
Yeah, he was an Xbox controller guy.
Okay.
It wasn't even supported that much back then.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, I remember, didn't he used to stream with his crown on?
Yes.
Yeah. Lefty Lucy quit before those guys, didn't he, though?
Yeah, I think so. I know I played with him in Black Desert as well. I was actually in his guild for a while. But yeah, I think he was kind of the first to quit. And then I can't remember. Delty was the last. Well, no, Fangrush was the last. He's the only one that kind of stuck around of those like original OG, like big PvPers. I may be forgetting one or two, but those are the ones I kind of remember the most. Fangrush was kind of the one that stuck around, but I think it was Lefty, and then I think it was Cypher next, and then King Richard, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish those guys would just pop in. Man, Lefty Lucy was really big with the werewolves, and he missed a couple patches ago. He would have had an absolute heyday on werewolf if he would have stuck it out. So,
Oh man, werewolves. They're everywhere.
yeah. So, do you handle all of the content creation for your channel?
Yep, I handle everything from ideas to editing to thumbnails, 100% of it. It's a lot, but I get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the amount of work that goes into it. It could be pretty, well, I hate to call it work because it's kind of fun, isn't it? The content creation part of it. Like you make a video and you're like, man, I really like that video.
Ironically, the best video or my favorite videos to do, once I've got everything down, the ideas and everything like that, are actually build videos because I'll sit there and I'll make the video for it and then I'll just be scrolling through all the footage that I recorded for it. And it'll just be like, I'll look and it'll be like 2 hours have passed. I didn't even realize it, but I'm just like, oh, that's a cool clip and that's a cool clip and that's a cool clip. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's not necessarily work. To me, the work part's like just the editing and stuff like that, and a lot of it's I try to do stuff that's I don't have to edit as much. Like I've been loving doing like the patch notes videos and stuff like that. 'Cause that's really easy, really quick edit and stuff like that. But still, my favorite things to do is the builds. They take takes by far the most time to actually do. It might take who knows how many hours because even though we're like, well, it took me 6 hours, 7 hours to do. It's really a lot longer than that because you got to try to figure out what you're going to run. Then you got to might change 5 times before you get there. I went from one class to another to different sets and then how many hours you put into like doing the PvP, testing it out, and all that kind of stuff. But it's still a lot of fun. I still love to do it. And it's by far my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when I like for that werewolf video I just put out, I think that probably took me between like 10 to 15 hours to put together. But do I regret it? No. I had a lot of fun doing the editing and stuff like that. And I agree with you when you're like, going through all your footage and stuff, and then just like the time just flies by. Oh my goodness, like even when you're looking for clips and stuff, like it just the hours you don't even know where they go. Oh man.
They just completely disappear. So a funny thing was I was trying to make a build. I did a budget build for Magic Nightblade a while ago, and people liked it. And they're like, "Oh, I appreciate it." I've been kind of new to the game and don't have a whole lot of gold, so I kind of made one that was just kind of like a very low to mid tier battleground build, and it worked. And it was on a Magic Nightblade, which is kind of hard, especially with no proc sets and stuff like that. And I did it. I was like, "All right, we're gonna do a Necro." So I tested out a bunch of sets, and I went from a Necro to a Warden, and then I was like, wait a minute, let me try this. So I went to my Stamblade, and I ran Bobo Stamblade, and it is my favorite build that I've ever made. It can parse with anybody can parse 50, 60,000 with it with ease. Just it does so much damage, and you go there and you just absolutely one-shot people. Yeah, I do have like snipe on my bar, which my first emote that I actually put in for Twitch was a Parfax snipe with like an Argonian sniping. But it's a lot. It's way more than that. I was telling Grim and I were talking about this yesterday, where if you just snipe, you're doing it wrong. Like there's a lot of setup to it and stuff like that. But you'll get these people that are they get completely desynced and they can't see anything because you hit them with 3 abilities at one time that all crit and just absolutely one shot them. And then I can take that build, swap a couple abilities on it, take it into PvE, and it's great. I had somebody comment on my video. They're like, I almost gave up Stamina Nightblade. He's like, I can only pull like 15, 16k DPS. I don't know what I was doing wrong. and he's like, I picked up your build, and now I'm running like 45,000 DPS. He's like, I'm so happy now. I can just continuously work on my Nightblade, and I really appreciate it. And I'm even having fun in PvP with it. So I was like, those comments make it all worth it. You can give me 10,000 negative comments, but you give me that one good comment, and it's all good.
Yeah, I love that. I like when people come back and give you feedback like that, because some of the people will jump into your build and you'd never be the wiser. You wouldn't know that you've helped someone, right? And that's kind of why you're doing this, is you get fulfillment out of helping or passing on knowledge. And so I really cherish those moments when people are leaving those good comments like that, and I want to follow up with them too. Like, how's it going now? How's things working out? Do you need any help? So
yeah, I had one person on that build specifically. He stopped by. I think he stopped by the stream, and then he was messaging me in game, and we were just kind of like chatting back and forth. And he's like, "What about this and this and this?" We were just kind of going back and forth, and he wanted to make sure that it was something he could run. He didn't want to, put a whole bunch of resources into it, even though it was a really cheap build. Because I was running Swamp Raiders and Red Eagle with 2 one-piece helms. You could like run like Slime Crawl or something like that as well. But it just absolutely, and with the Master's Bow in the back bar, and it just did so much damage because you use all of the bow abilities are pretty much all of your damage, other than I forget the bow is called, your little fist ability. I always forget its name, like Merciless Resolve, but I think that's the magic version.
Yeah, Relentless Focus.
Yeah, and other than that, you use all weapon abilities. So I'm like, Red Eagle sounds pretty insane because it gives you like, it's like 500 or something like that weapon damage to your weapon abilities. And then I was running the Swamp Raiders, which gives you like 600 weapon damage to your poison abilities. So I was running the poison snipe with the poison injection for the back bar with the Master's Bow, and it was just hitting so hard.
Yeah. Well, Blackwood's here. What's your thoughts so far, and what do you think is hits and misses with it?
So I think it's great for 80% of the population. I think the percentage of the population just kind of loves do quests and just kind of hang out and are mainly solo. I think it's great. They're going to love the companions. A lot of people love companions. It's not necessarily for me. I didn't get a chance to really experience the full proc set meta, because when I was playing before, I was so far kind of behind the curve. I didn't get a lot of chance in serial to play with it. So I've been basically just playing the no proc test. And so I'm excited for that personally. I know a lot of people aren't, but I don't know. The mythics are all really cool. I think all of them are actually good, which some of the ones before, aren't necessarily the best. Some of them are a little bit more, well, I shouldn't say not a little bit more, a lot niche. Like the one for the transformation one is going to be really cool for like your werewolf and your maybe vampires. But to me, I don't mean to like sort of like downplay Blackwood, but it feels more like a DLC and not an expansion. Other than the trial, which it's really cool. I haven't actually done it, but I've seen it. But if you're kind of anything other than a trial goer, it's really a DLC in my opinion versus a paid expansion.
What exactly, or how do you classify the difference between those two?
For me, it's just something either I can like do all the time or something that engages me more than just like a dungeons. For instance, the last update had a couple dungeons. You'll do them to get some of the gear, and then that's kind of it. And that's why I kind of feel this is. It's a little bit different because, I mean, obviously they put all of their time into the companion, and even the zone Blackwood, there's not a whole lot to do in it. The portals are really cool. I've ran them. They're kind of fun. I don't necessarily see like the replayability from them, because the gear is okay. I mean, I guess if it was really rewarding, it would be more like replayable. And one thing that's great is anybody that played on the PTS, it was almost impossible to find a portal. And now you find a portal, but again, you find a portal, and every portal I think I've went into, the first room will have mobs, maybe the second room, and then after that, there's no mobs, and you just run to the last boss, wait a couple minutes for it to spawn, kill the boss, and then leave. So they made more portals, but there's way more people in them. So it's just like you get a couple mobs and you just run to the last boss. It's basically just a loot simulator that's just you go in and you zerg down like a world boss and you get your ring. And it's still really cool. I think like aesthetically it's amazing. But I was talking a lot with a few people and I was like, Blackwood has to be the least populated for mobs of any zone other than maybe a starter zone. Even in the public dungeons, there's not a lot of mobs in there. You can't grind anywhere, so it doesn't have replayability that way. There's nothing really to do in the zone other than the portals. So you basically go there, get your companions, get whatever leads you need to do for like mythics, and then once you kind of have that, I just don't see people going there. Like, you know, Craglorn, everybody goes there because there's a bunch of trials and stuff like that, and Craglorn's just kind of like a hub for people. But Craglorn also has a place where you can get like Nirnroot or Nirncrux and stuff like that. So people go there for that. And other zones have their kind of replayability, where I think Blackwood kind of won't have it other than the trial.
Yeah. What do you what do you think's good about it? That's the misses, I guess, in your thoughts. What's the hits? What's something about it that they nailed?
Before you answer that, I'll just add in my bit there. So a lot of those issues that you were just talking about, and just like we were talking about in the beginning, that's kind of why I keep saying kind of. That's why I prefer to wait after the rush to do all my things, because I remember when they first introduced Mythics with the antiquities and the excavating, scrying, all that type of stuff, there were a couple bugs where you try to brush your, you brush your treasure or whatever and try to, you're doing the excavating part. That's the word I'm looking for. And sometimes you get the lead, but then you don't get it. So then you have to, do it again or search for it again. And I remember like people complaining about, oh, I'm not getting the drops or things like that. And, when I first started doing the antiquities, it was a couple months afterward, and practically bug free for the most part. I never really had any issues. So yeah, no, it's interesting from what you were saying about the whole with the not the endeavors, but like those portals and stuff. So I'm kind of glad that I'm not missing much right now. So but yeah, if you want to just go with Grim's question about what's the good stuff.
Well, one last thing is, so I remember that antiquities thing. I thought it was a feature. I was like, man,
oh, really?
This really sucks. When I came back, I didn't know they'd actually changed it. And Deltia was like, "Hey, look, I'm getting ready to grind up the antiquities." I'm like, "You are gonna hate it." He's not a big puzzle guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Just wait until you're doing these hard antiquities where you uncover the chest and there's just some magic little box that you can't. There's no way to possibly know where it's at. You just got to keep digging, and hopefully, just magically, you'll actually get the lead." Like there wasn't any rhyme or reason for it. You'd uncover the whole thing, but then you had to uncover some random spot that there was no way to even know what it was. So it would take you 15, 20 tries to get one lead done. And it was just like mind blowing. Then I came back and I was like, oh, wait a minute. That was a bug. Oh, these are great now. This is awesome. This is easy. Let's go.
Yeah. And dude, man, so like with that's exactly why I like to wait. I let I always think of that quote that Magneto said in one of like the X-Men movies. He's like, pawns rush in, So I kind of let all the pawns, stumble across, hit all the bugs and everything, and then once they've stepped on all the mines and stuff, then I'll walk across, mine free, and everything works just like it should. So.
Yeah. So what Grim was saying about the good stuff,
yeah.
I think this is a great expansion for ZeniMax. Like I said, I enjoy Heartland Conqueror. I love that set. That's my favorite set they've ever came out with. That's probably my favorite part of the whole thing, other than the set that's helm.
Which one is that? Is that the one that doubles the trait bonus on your weapon?
Yes.
Okay.
It's insane. First off, it's best in slot for training gear because it literally gives you an extra piece of training gear because it doubles your training weapon trait.
Yeah.
And infused anything on it's really good. You can do something like if you do a front bar sharpened, it gives you I think it's 100 less penetration than Spinners and Spriggans. Now, obviously, the 3 traits are a little bit different. Instead of getting Stam or Magic, you get one of each. But you also get, if you have an infused back bar, you'll get 100 weapon and spell damage. Or if you do something like I like to do is put like a defending on my back bar, you're basically getting a 5-piece, what's that crap? Fortified brass. You're basically getting the 5th piece of fortified brass on top of another basically 5th piece of fortified brass because you're running defending. So you get so tanky on your back bar. It's so versatile. You can put the powered trait, decisive, which gives you a bunch of ultimate. It's so versatile. You can do precise, and it's like a poor man's Mother Sorrow. The 5-piece is almost the exact same crit as the 5-piece from Mother Sorrow. Now, Mother Sorrow gives you more crit because of the first 3 pieces. But you can go from being a Mother Sorrow-esque DPS set to swapping just your weapon to now having a really good healing set. So I absolutely love the set.
I like that too. The Heartland Conqueror set, it's probably going to be one of my staples for all the wacky, thematic builds that I do, just because of what you said. It's so versatile.
Yeah, I love it. But
Yeah.
for ZeniMax, I think it's great because with the companions, they've really opened up a market to where, one, a lot of people who played Skyrim, everybody loves their companion in Skyrim. Everybody loves it. So they have that. And 2, for them personally, they made a lot of money, I'm sure, off of the expansion, but it allows people they're going to have, I'm sure, costumes for them. They're going to have a bunch of stuff that you can purchase in game, out of game, all that kind of stuff. And people love that kind of thing. For a long time, we're like, housing needs to be in the game. People absolutely love it. And, it's insane. I remember listening, I think it was on one of your podcasts. I think it was one of your podcasts where Grim was talking about, it was one with Deltia where you said you were talking about your housing. I think it was Grim. It was Grim or Icy. But you're talking about how somebody came in and they were helping you with your housing and stuff like that. And people absolutely love that. And I think it's going to have that type of kind of customization for your companion down the road. And people do love their companion. I'm not a big companion person just because I found that it pulls mobs when I don't want to and just doesn't quite do enough for me. But I'm going to get them leveled up, and I'm still going to have a lot of fun with them. We're going to do solo builds where we're running the companion. I tested them out a lot on the PTS, and they got a lot better. They're still maybe not quite where we want them to. The one thing that I wish they would do is allow us to queue with them. I know it's kind of making it to where, there's this, you don't want to divide players anymore, which companions kind of do on their own. But it would be cool if I could do like my normal dungeons with my companion. Because you still can only queue with one person. So you do 2 people instead of 4 if they both had a companion. But I think companions are great for 80% of the population. I think they're going to love them. I think they knocked it out of the park with it because it's just something, that most people are going to really enjoy. And I know I did some polls, and a lot of people are like, man, I can't wait for companions. Other people were, said other things, but I think companions, they knocked it out of the park with because it's just something they can build on in the future, and people are just going to love.
Yeah, I like the whole companion idea. And so how exactly is that queuing supposed to work? Because me and my buddy Emma, we both had our companions out. We queued up for a normal, and it took about 2 minutes for it to pop. But then when we got in the dungeon, we wound up with 2 other people, and I'm like, what the heck? I don't want you guys on my team. I want my companion. So then we left the dungeon.
Yeah, you can't, like, if you queue with your companion, it just doesn't count.
Yeah, so is that intentional, or is it supposed to be that we can queue with our companions and we're good?
From what I remember, they did mention it, and they said that you're not supposed to be able to queue with your companion. Actually, I don't think they're actually even supposed to be in the dungeon. There were some bugs in the PTS where you could actually bring them into, let's say, like Vadishram and Maelstrom Arena, where they're not allowed to go. I actually heard people said in Cyrodiil on live, people had their companions out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I stopped in Cyrodiil, and they're like, there's 7 companions at this keep. It's like, oh no. But you're not supposed to be able to.
Yeah, because I think, well, for single player content like arenas, you're not supposed to, but I think dungeons are fine.
Yeah, you can have them out, you just can't queue with them, which I think is odd. I wish you could queue with them, because I would love to do, like, it's hard sometimes to get a bunch of people to do random normals. And I have 14 characters, and I need as a content creator, you need so many transmutes. It's just insane how many transmutes you need. And I would love to just be able to queue up with somebody else, get my companion, and just go ham doing normals. Like, have somebody with a low level character. We both just put on our companion and go.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. I kind of wish that when you loot, maybe make it like a boss or a chest, that when you loot it and you have your companion out, they'll actually run up to the chest or the boss, whatever, and loot it with you. So then it's like they're looting their own gear. So then you don't have to try and get it. So then now it'll increase the drop rate for companion gear because they're looting it themselves.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I want it
it
to
would be cool.
I want it to function like God of War, where you just grunt at Atreus, open the chest, boy. You know, and they run over and loot it for you. So
That'd be pretty cool.
go ahead and keep all that in your inventory too. No.
Yeah, I think somebody said once that Atreus, since we're talking about God of War 4, I heard Atreus is probably the best support in a game ever implemented.
Mm.
Like, because you see a lot of like companions like in a variety of games, but Atreus is probably the most like effective and useful companion in any game so far, from what I've heard.
Hmm.
Yeah, because right now, I think I did a dungeon with Zoom, one of the new buddies who joined a couple of weeks ago, and we just three-manned it, like me, him, and his companion, and we're DPSing the boss, and the companion pulls aggro. Mary, she's hot and everything, but she's not that great because we put our ground DPS or our ground dots, and then she dodge rolls, and the boss follows her. And now we gotta replace our dots again. And it's just like, what the heck is this? But I'm pretty sure she's not intended to be like a tank, right? That's more like Bastion's role.
No, it's she is the tank, and he's more of the well, she's the tank slash like range DPS, and he's more of the mage caster. Yeah.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I don't want to, put a put a roll on somebody just by looking at them, but okay.
They're not very tanky. I did some tests on the PTS, even after they did some changes. In order to really get them to tank like a world boss, you kind of have to heal them. So you have to run like instead of like a shield, maybe like on your back bar, you run rapid regen. Well, yeah, they're more for regen, but you run a little bit of like side heals, and you can get them to tank stuff like world bosses and stuff like that. But I took them into a vet dungeon. I think it was like Imperial or like White Gold Tower or something like that, and they got one shot by the first heavy attack from the boss.
Oh, they should have blocked.
They should have blocked.
Right.
Oh, but wait, you can't.
Oh yeah, I was hoping we weren't going to talk about bugs.
Oh, we're totally talking about bugs. Like the performance, that's another miss, I think, for Blackwood, right? It's got to be. Like some of the 5-piece bonuses aren't working, and blocking isn't working, and I popped a potion earlier, and it consumed the potion, but didn't give me the resources. Like, come on.
Yeah, I've also found that the loading screens were minutes long. It's been a little bit better now. I don't know if they did a quick patch or if it was just everybody trying to like load the game at the same time, but I had like minute loading screen, way longer than a minute. It was like 2-3 minute loading screens, and I have a fairly decent computer, so it was all server side. But I had some PvP bugs where like the necromancer tether, if they tether you when you're dead, it'll stay on you when you get back up for even if you're across the map, it just stays there. I think until like you die again or some extremely long period of time. The same thing with the Vate staff. If they hit you with the Vate staff and you die, then it's on you when you get back up. Like it's kind of funny, but
have you noticed on your Necro that the light attack weaving seems a bit slower?
So I haven't played the my Necro. This was an enemy Necro that hit me with it, but I was actually talking to Grim about this yesterday, where I am finding it on my Magic Nightblade infuriating trying to weave, especially in Battlegrounds. I thought I was just like something had happened and my weaving was just as bad as it possibly could get. And I was trying to run the Heartland Conqueror Torix Pact setup where you have the infused back bar, but it really caters to making sure you light attack weave every spell. And it just wasn't happening. Like I couldn't get it to go, and I was just getting so frustrated that I just ended up logging off the character and continuing trying to level up the Dark Brotherhood.
And this is, of course, in Blackwood, right? As opposed to,
Yeah.
like, say, just the other, like, over the weekend, everything was fine.
Yeah, this was the first day of Blackwood.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that frustrates me, well, obviously all of that frustrates me, but now all of a sudden the to-do list, the things that need to get taken care of, like gap closers fixed and executes fixed, and you still got that random portal that doesn't work in the one battleground and you run off to your death, and like you're flying through walls in Imperial City, you can glitch through the floors and like all kinds of weird stuff going on, and you got banner bosses that are glitched out, and now all of a sudden we just doubled or tripled our bug problem, with not being able to light attack, and potions and 5 pieces aren't working, and you got a block bug, and uh, Icy and I literally, we were both recording simultaneously and screen sharing, and the way the block bug was working, on his screen he's holding block, he's like, I'm holding block right now but I'm taking full damage, and then on my screen he's not holding block, like he's just standing there. And so I'm like, that's a serious problem, and it's just all kinds of weird stuff. So now all of a sudden, we've had all those other problems for years. How long are we going to have some of these problems? So that's disappointing.
You shared me the meme, but it might actually have something to do with the Sithis Helm. Like there may be, when they coded it in the game, it may actually have something to do with the Sithis Helm. I mean, I guess to solve it, just run it. If you just want to solve, who cares about blocking? Just run the Sithis Helm. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, Icy, could you cut that meme that I made in to the video?
Yeah, I think we're at like we're at 51 minutes, so yeah, I could probably grab that. That's the Leonardo DiCaprio from Departed.
Wolf of Wall
Wolf
Street.
of Wall Street. Okay,
Yeah. Cut that in. That'll be awesome. So everybody, look at your phone real quick, and maximum lulls. Anyways.
Oh, so in terms of that BG bug where you run off the cliff because the portal didn't take it. So
Yeah.
I like that bug because I'm aware of it. I never run through it. I always walk through it, and then I'll walk and I'll wait on top of it. I don't get ported. And so I know if I ran off, I would have obviously, joined my team the hard way, and then I get ported like 3-4 seconds after standing on it for that long. I'm like, yep. So at this point, I know it's gonna happen, and I feel like if you're still dying to that, that's kind of on you. But that's just me coping with known bugs that probably should get addressed at one point.
It's so funny though, right? Like watching people go through it and then just fall to death. I'll just sit there and I'll just stop and I'll just start laughing. Like, we've all been there. We've all done it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm laughing and like, really? You should know it by this, by now you should be aware of like what you need to do, but whatever.
Oh, what about the situation in Cyrodiil that Dr. Gankenstein, did he do a video on it, or did he just bring it up in our general chat about being attacked by an invisible Templar? He was out in Cyrodiil and he was attacked and killed by an invisible Templar. Like they never materialized. He jabbed him to death and killed him, and he never got a chance to see them.
I think he might have been dreaming or something.
No, because Decimus has a clip. He was out in Cyrodiil too. He was riding on his mountain and he got attacked by somebody, and he goes, what? And he's like panning around, like looking like what's, and then he dies, and he was like, okay. Nobody even there, and he got killed.
This sounds like you guys are seeing ghosts.
Yeah, well, and feeling them.
Sounds like the new meta build.
Oh, we need to find that build. Then we can do that juicy thumbnail, the unkillable, never be seen, whatever class it is, hybrid class. So.
Well, I don't know. So pick your poison. Do you want an invisible Templar that's jabbing you, or you want that Templar that's got a bull netched and initiates a fight with a DK leap?
Hey, do you remember that happening in Imperial City?
Oh, so that was actually like at 3-4 in the morning, and that was a story that you told me.
Yeah,
happened to you. Yeah. So I never saw it, but that was a thing you told me.
Yeah, I wish I would have recorded that. I ran into somebody down in Imperial City sewers, and they were using multiple class abilities. So Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, new thing. So, um, let's see. So, did you participate in the no proc testing, or were you still coming back at that time frame?
I did towards the end, and it was a lot of fun. It took me a while before I got back into Cyrodiil because man, when you come back from the game, there's so much stuff to do. Pretty overwhelming. Like, even though I played the game for so long and I kind of know the ins and outs of the game, even when you come back, there's just so many sets to get. There's so many things to catch up on. It took me so long to actually start catching up on it. Once I got into Cyrodiil, I liked it. My first time I went into Cyrodiil, I went into Grey Host, or as people call it, Lag Host, and it was the 2-second skill timer. You know, I hit the skill and 2 seconds later it'd go off. All the bugs, and I'm like, well, BG's it is for me. So I didn't go in for a while. Then I went back in. I've been playing Raven's Watch actually a lot more. I actually would like to play with my CP now that it's I've kind of started to catch up to people. I'm like at a little over 1100 now, and I like it, but it takes so long to get in there, and Raven's Watch is just less laggy. Like, I was even playing at prime time, and it wasn't too bad, even at pretty close to pop locked. So I've been playing that mainly. It's been a lot of fun. Been running around in the Nightblade, just killing people from stealth and having a lot of fun there.
Yesterday, you brought something up that was intriguing, and I don't know why everybody fights so hard to protect their Cyrodiil. Like, especially when you're talking about lag host, like that's terrible.
Lag
Like,
host. I'm sorry. That's so funny to me.
there's like a 2-second skill delay. You can't bar swap, can't use potions. Oh, light attacks don't even work here, and it's like, why would you want to protect this? Like, they need to just scrap this or rewrite the code or do something to fix this. But anyways, you were talking about that yesterday, and you had some really good ideas about it. Could you share your thoughts?
So
Yeah,
right before you do that, I'm just gonna add to add more salt to the wound. Like, when things are lagging that bad, and like, I just don't understand why people continue to play in there. Because for me, I remember like back in freaking, I guess, last summer, man, it's just like, my audio. I usually play with like the in-game audio and stuff like that. I don't like it gets so bad when when the lag hits, everything goes quiet, quiet. I can barely whenever I cast my major resolve, whatever, nothing happens half the time. Things are just very eerie, and you could tell that things are just slowing down, and things are hitting you too early or too late. I really don't see the interest in it, or why people even think that's fun, because it's like Cyrodiil or something like that. It really makes me wonder sometimes. But sorry,
yeah.
go
I
ahead,
think
Parfax.
I think people get the itch, and Cyrodiil does, like, ESO itself. It has actually a great PvP system. Like, it's probably one of the best of any MMO out there when it comes to PvP when it works correctly. Like, I think people go in there because they really love it. Now, when proc sets were around, I heard a lot of people were just like, it was still fine because you just ran proc sets because, even if you had a 2-second lag, you can still one-shot somebody because everything's free anyway. So, as long as you get a couple skills off, you still killed everybody and you still had 40k health. But yeah, no, I think I've had a lot of talks about Cyrodiil and stuff like that, and I think they should either go one of two ways. And first, I think they really should just scrap a lot of Cyrodiil, keep all the tiles and stuff like that, but make it way smaller. The things that people hate about Cyrodiil are the lag and the amount of time you spend riding on a mount. If you make Cyrodiil smaller, and I don't know how they'd have to do it lore-wise because ESO is such a lore-heavy game, and honestly, I wish they could somehow figure out a way to just cut out Imperial City from the map itself. We don't go through the sewer anymore. It's just this huge void that makes you run farther. Cut out a lot of the space that nobody runs to anyway. Maybe take out a couple, keeps or something like that. Make everything a little smaller, and then make less amount of people actually able to go into each one. You could open up more and just have a lot better experience. Where I don't know if anybody ever played Guild Wars 2, but they had a very small map, and it was basically structured exactly like ESO. I should say ESO structured like them. Had I think it was three versions as well. So you had three, 1v1v1, but the map was so small that you could port to a keep, and within 2 minutes of riding, you got to the big fight. So there wasn't this huge long timer running from one side of the zone to the other. There's nothing worse in Cyrodiil when you go into a Cyrodiil, it's lagging. You have, basically your one home keep and all the fighting's going completely across the map. So you ride for 15 minutes, get zerked down by 15 people, and then have to go restart it all over again. If you had a lot smaller map, and with a lot less people in it, you would get a lot less lag. It would help them out because there's not as much stuff going on in the server, and it helps the players out because now they can get to the action faster.
Yeah, I did a video, I don't even remember, it was probably a year ago, and I was kind of at my wit's end with PvP and the game. And one of the things, the name of the video is Cyrodiil Destroyed. And I said in the video, and I actually have a diagram of it, they just need to break Cyrodiil up into 3 regions. You got the east, the west, and the south, and make them. War has been going on in this area for how long? Years and years, right?
Right.
To think that the landscape hasn't changed over the years of this just bombardment and batterment and like just being destroyed, you could easily add ravines, or you could add these outer walls, the gates. You could actually make the gates more zoned. Now you're entering the east territory, and then have each one of those have their own either server or something to that effect, or maybe you control through population of that area and you're sitting in queue or whatever, I don't know. But and in that moment it functions very similar to the districts in Imperial City. And during Mid-Year Mayhem, for the most part, Mid-Year Mayhem operates way better than Cyrodiil. And I have to think that it comes down to the size of it. And if they were to break the east and the west, from the home keeps a ride, and then there's some type of divider with a choke point that, you just load in through to pass over to the next area, then all the combat and all the everything that's happening in that region of the map is kind of, so maybe there is just a colossal huge fight going on up here, but it leaves these other zones unaffected. And that was kind of what I proposed. And then Icy and I even talked about what different elements that they could add to the game, like a hero, a faction hero could be either summoned or brought, like Lyris Titanborn enters the battlefield, or something like that. And they're basically just gonna, Razam Dar enters the battlefield, and they're basically come in with some trash mob troops around them, and they make their way to a keep and they start sieging a keep or something like that. And then that gives you another objective. You protect Razam Dar's squad. Now you're acting as a whatever bodyguards for it. And so I thought different aspects of it, and maybe we're getting a little too much PvE in our PvP, but I thought that was kind of interesting. And but here we are a year later and it's virtually unplayable. So
yeah, I think they've got to do something. Maybe they won't. I mean, I shouldn't say they have to do something, because not that many people overall play PvP. I know we were talking about how people are like, well, 1% of the population plays PvP. Yes and no. Yes, technically, probably 1% of the population plays PvP, but also probably 10% of the population never gets past level 10. Like, so there's this huge gap in between, the people that are on the statistic but don't actually really count. For me, it's once you hit endgame, and it actually is a decent chunk of people that play a form of PvP. A lot of them play to do their battleground dailies, but a lot of people still love to go into Cyrodiil. People do go into IC a little bit, but it's not nearly as much as the other two, obviously. But I just think if they got to find a way to make Cyrodiil smaller so that they can put less people in there, make it feel more crowded, and have less issues with the server, because the issue with the server is big. It's really big. Obviously, I don't have any insight, but the fact that they haven't fixed it tells you all you need to know. I said it I mean, 6 years ago, I was like, I don't know how the servers were better 6 years ago than they are right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't know how the servers function, because every time you hit an AoE, especially back when they had the first amount of people got this mount, then this mount, and this mount. Every time you hit an AoE, every person, if you're that AoE is hitting 10 people, so that's 10 registers just in the AoE. Now back then it used to have a dot on it, so now those 10 people have dots on them, so it's registering that. Then you have healing, and then 5 other people are hitting those 10 people, and then it just multiplies the amount of things that the server has to deal with, and it's just like almost physically not possible unless you have some like insane server. And everybody's like, well, they have now Google, but I don't think people actually realize how much effort and time it actually would take, even if they do plan on doing it, to actually have it for them to get it out there and to be not as bad as it is right now. Because computer programming, not that, I've been in the IT field a little bit. I haven't really dabbled in too much programming. I took a couple classes in school, and I remember when I decided I was never going to be a computer programmer, we had this project and we were making this text-based game, roll a 6-sided dice, do this, and if this happens, this happens. And I spent 3 hours, 4 hours trying to figure out what was wrong in my code. It was just like, it won't run. And I had an extra space in the code. And it took me like 5 hours to figure it out. And it's so finicky. And in order for them to fix something, it's not just as easy as, well, this happens means this happens. They actually got to go in, and there's a lot of work that gets done. And I'm sure they're trying. And I don't think they want their population to be like, man, this sucks. But I think there's probably just a bigger underlying issue. And my way of kind of putting a Band-Aid on it, but a pretty nice Band-Aid on it, it's one of those like little colorful ones with the little cartoons on it, is to make the zone smaller. They can use all the same assets, everything they have, make it smaller, less people go in there, because Cyrodiil runs fine when there's not that many people in it.
Yeah.
So if you make it smaller, people can get to areas quicker, and we just have a lot of fun playing it.
Yeah. And so you introduce other campaigns if we're going to put kind of a ceiling on the population, just have more campaigns running. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially prime time, typically the queue's like, when I've been queuing, it's been like 40, 50, 60 around prime time. We could basically knock out the queues, and that could be just another 2 servers. You can put all those people that want to be in there, separate them 2 servers. Now I know everybody's like, there's always going to be one campaign that everybody's going to want to join. But even Ravenwatch gets, pop locked. Even the other one, when PvP gets really high, it gets a lot of people in there. People just don't want to go to a campaign that doesn't have a whole lot of people in it. Nobody wants to ride for 10 minutes to not find a fight, let alone ride 10 minutes and, get zerked down. So if you just make them smaller, make everything smaller, then more people will go to more campaigns and then have a lot more fun. Because there's not that many people trying to go in there at one time. So like, even if a guild goes out there, there's not that many people trying to access it at one time. Because I know, like, in a typical MMO sense, everybody wants to be on the same server, but there might be a guild of 500 people that want to be on that server. There's not 500 people from one guild trying to get into, Cyrodiil. There might be 10, 15, 20, 30, even 40. Even at that number, you can easily sustain that in a high pop one, but maybe they don't go into the first one, they go into the second or third one.
Yeah. What would you like to see for PvP as a whole? Like, let's say, hypothetically, tomorrow they release, or they go onto the forums and they say, what would everybody like to see for PvP if our next patch or our next whatever is going to be PvP oriented? What would you like to see?
So if it wasn't the smaller Cyrodiil, I think that might be number one. I would say one of 2 things. One, a 25v25v25 battleground. I think that would be a ton of fun. That would give you the itch of the big battleground, the big Cyrodiil type of gameplay. I mean, I played a couple games where it was a 25v25 in this pretty small arena, and it was just absolutely hectic. Just have some form of that. If you didn't have that, I would suggest to put Telvar vendors in Imperial City and have them sell things like not perfected trials gear. Make it be really good, because let's be honest, everybody that you talk to is like, Imperial City is absolutely great, but it's never populated. And part of that is it's always great for us to go down there and kill the group of PvEers. You know, that's always the best clip of some Magic Nightblade running the bomb build, and there's 24 people down there, PvEers in their full PvE gear, farming it out, and you just get the insta 24 kill. But I think if you could make a vendor down there, it's going along with the same thing. It could even be just every Friday have a vendor down there that sells stuff that nowhere else you can get, but still really, really good. It's got to be worth it. It's the only place in Elder Scrolls that has a true risk versus reward. So it should be the best for PvP. That has to be the best rewards you can get for PvP. Should be down in Imperial City. And I think the Telvar vendor would be pretty good.
I love it. I like that we've got more traffic coming down because of the new monster sets. That's great. But adding value to the key frags, adding value to the Telvar would definitely spice things up down there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes it down there. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I was gonna say everybody likes it down there, but they've just got to make it rewarding enough for people to go down there all the time and not just Minior Mayhem.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty awesome. So going back to the 25v25v25 BG, what do you think about the idea of if they added custom BGs?
Oh, I'm all for custom everything. I'm like I said, I'm someone that's a grinder. So the best way for me to do something is to do it over and over and over again. It's the best way for me to train. We used to go to Cyrodiil, Delty and I, and we used to put on like a little dueling match for the people in the guild that wanted to get better at PvP. So we'd go out to Cyrodiil, him and I would go to like a different faction, and we'd sit there and we'd just duel everybody over and over again. And I think that kind of gives the same type of gameplay, but for Battlegrounds. It's kind of hard, especially if you're a slightly higher MMR person and you bring somebody that's a lot lower. It's kind of hard to teach them because, for instance, Delty did his 24-hour stream. I think Grim was in our group, and we grouped up together, and I think we went something along the lines of like 45-0, where it was our kill to death ratio as a group. Like we literally just walked over everybody, and that's not really a good, it's not going to help anybody. That didn't help any of us other than maybe our egos. But, it'd be nice to have something like that to be able to go in and test. I was actually talking to somebody on my stream, and they were like, I would love to have a way to go to a specific, room in Maelstrom Arena and just practice it over and over and over again. Get no rewards, get literally nothing, but allow me to just practice it because it's hard. Like I was having an issue on the Poison Realm, and ironically, it was because I couldn't figure out why I couldn't see AoEs. And if you ever done that, the acid spray that the archers hits you so hard. And I was getting hit by them every single time they spawned because I couldn't see where they were going. And I was just like getting so mad at dying from acid spray because I couldn't see the AoE. And we were talking, like, it'd be really nice just to be able to have somewhere where you can just do it over and over again in practice. And if you do that with Battlegrounds, I think one, that's going to bring a lot of people to play Battlegrounds because PvP is kind of a pride thing. Like it's not, you can't really judge yourself by yourself. You've got to go against other people, and people don't like to go against other people because it might make them look bad. But if you had something like that, then you could take groups in there and be like, Grim's like, I'm going to have my group here. It's, I'm going to lead this group. Icy's like, I'm going to lead this group. And I'm like, I'm going to lead this group. And we're going to play, we're not going to run any big proc sets. We're just going to run, I'm going to run, I don't know, Innate Axiom and New Moon or Warlock or whatever. And just go out there and, have a very even playing field. You could do things like everybody's in white gear, or, you could do fun things as well with it. But I think it'd be a great way to teach people, because there's this huge gap to entry. And you see it if, when you make a new character, you see that gap, because you do get the people that go in there for the first time. They're trying it out, but they never heal themselves. They run around their PvE gear. They're just auto attacking. They're putting down orbs, like it's just all this kind of weird stuff that it's hard to teach them when it's just like, you can't stop the fight at any point and just be like, hey, everybody stop. All right, let's redo that. You go over there, and let's try this again.
Yeah, see, I love that. That you hit the nail on the head. in my mind, custom battlegrounds would be perfect for that purpose right there. You could actually set scenarios up. You can work with people that want to be healers in PvP. You can point out where they should be standing, where they shouldn't be standing. You can create scenarios. You can practice certain gameplay, certain games, from domination to chaos ball, and practice, hey, if you want to be the ball carrier, here's what you would do on this particular map. Here's the best route to run, or here's, the different things. And I think, like you were saying, the barrier to entry for PvP, a lot of people are intimidated by PvP, but if you could use it as a learning process, a training process, and I think that you attach that to guilds. If guilds meet a certain requirement, they have the ability to form custom battlegrounds. And I think that would be great, because what we don't want is if everyone has access to custom battlegrounds, now nobody's actually queuing for battlegrounds. Everybody's actually, and make it to where you don't get any of the dailies or rewards whatsoever from a custom battleground. It's simply for learning purposes or training purposes, and I think it would help immensely for the games. Like if you're wanting to increase the lifetime value of their customers as a whole, if ZOS is wanting to increase their for PvP community, make it to where they implement the training program that IC had talked about, through the Fighter Guild, where it very thoroughly goes through how to crowd control, how to break free, how to target select, where to be, where not to be, positional tactics, how to pinch, how to line a sight, and make it repeatable for them. So that way they can go back through, and then have the AI that's in there, have a couple different reactions. So that way, every time you repeat it, you get different looks on those. Don't make it the exact same cut and dry thing, but that will take your PvEer in a zero, like ego-free, stress-free environment. They could go in there and they're basically just completing a quest that's teaching them very thoroughly how to PvP. And then you have custom battlegrounds that their guild members or people like you, IC, myself, Deltia, people could actually organize these and take the training to another level. And I think that would be great. So let's make that happen.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
for
mean,
me, I was gonna just add in that for me, I do like the idea of like training and all that type of stuff, but then also the like all the extra stuff that you could do in there, whether it's playing things like hide and go seek or maybe like a manhunt type game where one person is playing Jason or Mike Myers or something like that, and everyone else is just in civilian gear, and the last person to survive the murder spree, wins whatever. You can just make up whatever it is that you want, and you could even say you wanted to make like a series or something like that where you have one guy, he's just recording in first person, no UI, and he's just making a movie, having dialogue and just putting together scenes and stuff. Because there was a series in the for the game Destiny, and I'll have to show you afterward. But they put what they call it, something cops, buddy cops. Oh man, it was so funny. But again, they were able to remove the UI, and they just film all around the zones that you can go in Destiny, and they just put some dialogue together. They made a little TV series about it and stuff, like a YouTube series. And yeah, it was actually pretty awesome. And like things like custom BGs would easily allow you to do that, where you can create your own dialogue, put your own fake narrative, and put a funny spin on it and stuff. Those types of things where it'll really speak to people's creativity with what they can do with that free open space. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Not that I would make my own type of content like that, but for the ones who are really creative, I think it'd be actually pretty awesome.
You could take this to the next level too, right? We could even make this in a way to really benefit ZOS. Like 'cause ZOS, when it comes down to it, they just got to reach the bottom line.
Mhm.
What about having the arena? And this is probably way too much of their, development. They need to make this. But what if you could put things in the battlegrounds? But as you could buy things from the cash shop or make things via like your housing system and have the same housing system type of UI and allow you to have like put different things in there that you could, work around.
Like Halo allowed you to create. Yes. 100%. So you could design your own keeps and your own obstacles and your own battlefield for the most part. Yeah, that would be really, really cool. And then you could feature that battleground, that would be awesome.
Yeah, the only reason I say that is because, ZOS has to basically be like, okay, we're going to do this. What are we going to make from it? Like, what dollars, how many dollars are we going to make from this? So, you got to find a way for ZOS to make a little bit of money. I mean, obviously, we can say that it would bring more people into the game in PvP, which I agree. I believe it will, especially for people that are going to go out of their way to help people. But they'll be like, well, what if we get like 200 extra people PvP and that's not a big thing? But what if we allow them to put stuff in there, which means they're going to buy stuff from our cash app? We're going to put something in the cash app that's really insane, for $30 that they can put in their own personal arena, and they can do a battlegrounds with it. And it'd be really cool. You could have the different flags. They could sell flags, and you could, different types of flags. You have Daggerfall, anything you possibly can imagine, like they do now for housing. You could do that for your battlegrounds, and you could just put like random statues, all that good stuff in there, and it would be a way for them to monetize it and give us something we need as well.
So along those same lines, then you just put it into the housing tabs, and it's called territories, and you can purchase these 20,000 crown territories. And then there's a whole new section in the crown store that, okay, we're getting into my wallet right now.
I was like 20,000 crowns, Grim. Like, come on, we're just spitballing ideas here, man. Make it like 10K at least.
Well, 10K is, I mean, some of the homes are 13K, and you don't have, you can duel in them, but all of the flooring isn't, like if you set down AoE on the ground, it doesn't work properly. So this territories could be like a quarter of Cyrodiil or a tenth of Cyrodiil, whatever, like a large enough area to support 30 people, or a maximum of 30 or maximum of 50, whatever, I don't know. But this needs to be an investment by a guild or an investment by an individual. Make multiple people chip in to purchase this, and then you have a whole crown store. Like, seriously, I would purchase this myself. I would get 20K worth of crowns to do this, and I would put this together. I would make this happen, because this interests me. I now have an area that I can put on all these games and all these war games, and we could do manhunts and reward type games. I think that would be awesome.
I feel like another one, like maybe a workaround to custom BGs, what they could do is, if you're in a party and you ask somebody to duel, then that whole party is included in the duel.
I could see some funny things happening with that.
Because then what you could do is create like an arena at your house, make it look like a BG or something, and then, hey, I got my 4-on-4 that I wanted. Nice little private area. We're practicing whatever the heck we're practicing, and there you go.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be like another way to do a custom BG.
Yeah,
or even put it to where, like, on the little wheel, you have duel and then group duel.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, if you're in a group, then there's an indicator that says, oh, I have the group duel function, and it doesn't have to be always a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3. It could be a 1-on-2.
Yeah, I like
You just
that.
have like the ready check.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Let's make it happen, Zos. I'll open my wallet right now. What do I got to pay?
We will pay.
We will pay. We will pay for this.
Yeah, those guys will pay. Yeah.
So if that's the future of PvP, I'm in. That sounds great. Now we just need to get block to work and make our 5-piece work, and gap closers and executes and bar swapping and just basic functions of the game. So
break free.
Break free. Yeah, that's another thing that You know what's funny, when the break free started happening, mysteriously an armor set was created that breaks you free for free, and now there's a CP line that breaks you free for free. So it's, it's almost like they're sitting there and they're like, I have no clue. I really can't. I've gone through this code 50 times and I can't figure out what's going on with this random break free stuff. So let's just add some CP and an armor set.
Then you have the Sithis helm for the block bug.
Yeah. Yeah, we add the Sithis. We add Gaze of Sithis, and now they don't even need to block at all. So awesome.
I will say that I know there's a forum post for that block for the block bug, and they did acknowledge it. So I will say that.
Good. Okay, here's the tough questions. You ready?
Let's go.
If you had to create a new race today, what would it be?
Or class.
Well, we've got those too. If you had
okay.
if you had to create a new race today, what would it be, and what would its passives be?
So I would probably, and this is just kind of going off the lore, I would probably go the Dwemer. I know that's kind of like, well, everybody's going to pick the Dwemer. But what I would do for the passive is, and the PvEers would hate me for this, but while in a dungeon, they get extra damage. Just a flat, like, but it's way more, it's just a lot more than like a normal passive. Like, I think a normal passive gives you like 200 or 300. What if you got 400 or 500 weapon and spell damage while in like dungeons, arenas, trials, that kind of thing? Because the Dwemer, they live underground for the most part. So why not, while you're down there, just give them, a bunch of extra damage or resources or something like that.
So they're like master dungeoneers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PvPers would hate me because then everybody just had to run a Dwemer. You just see all Dwemers running around for your PvE race. And I'm sure you could find a way to balance it. I mean, I'd probably obviously give them some like form of resource regeneration or flat, resources as well with it. It might be way too overpowered, but at least something like that when it comes to their passive. I mean, obviously I'm a PvP player and I would probably maybe roll one, like maybe I'm a Magic Nightblade or something like that. I'd prefer PvP, but I think that'd be kind of a cool way to do it.
I can tell you right now, I don't care what DPS they push. If a Dwemer female isn't good looking, Icy isn't going to roll he's not going to make one.
Facts.
So, facts. So he's like, we got to look good doing this DPS, or this tanking. So
Yeah, if you don't look good, you don't play good.
Exactly.
So, just because I'm not saying I'm like big on the lore, but why a Dwemer and not like something else? Because we've never actually seen a Dwemer, and for lore specific reasons, we will most likely never see the Dwemer. And I think, I'm just throwing this out here, I'm pretty sure there's like an unwritten rule when anyone's creating ESO lore content and stuff that no matter what, you can never ever reveal the Dwemer.
Partly because I just want to see him. Like
Oh,
you could do like Minotaurs and stuff like that are already in there. I mean, I would even like a Guar race. Like that would be funny to be running around as a Guar Dragonite. Like can you imagine the leap? It makes no sense at all. Like, right? They're not very intelligent creatures. But Dwemer, it's always been this thing. You go down to the Dwemer ruins and you're just like, man, I really want to meet the Dwemer. Obviously, they haven't been around for years, but maybe they found this secret organization that's been hidden in a secret Dwemer ruins for, thousands and thousands of years, and they finally come to service. They can have like a big expansion with it and tell how the Dwemer finally are resurfacing for the first time. And your whole goal, even before you can even get the race, is you got to complete this mission to where you got to go down there and you got to find them. The whole thing is going down there and find them. Yeah.
You got to fight the legion of Dwemer.
So that does sound cool. Do you know like a little bit of the history, like how they disappeared or why they disappeared?
I used to, but I can't remember. It's been so long.
So I think a buddy was telling me about it maybe like a couple months ago, and from what he said was that because obviously the Dwemer, they're very like engineering like, they're very smart, that type of thing. And what they did was they got their hands on the Elder Scroll, and I think for everybody that pays attention and stuff, if you read the Elder Scroll, you go blind. right? In exchange for all that knowledge that you're gaining. So what they did was I'm not saying they made like a computer or something, but they made some contraption that would essentially translate the Elder Scroll for them and put it on like not like paper, but they just trying to transcribe it, I guess,
Parchment?
into like parchment or something that wasn't on the Elder Scroll itself, so that you could read it and you won't go blind. So then they have this full amount of knowledge of the future and everything that's going to happen, that I think when they saw that, they were like, oh, like what the French toast is going on here? And then at that point they put together some engineering stuff, and then they just kind of dipped out. And when I say dipped out, I mean they probably just opened up a portal to some other dimension and then left the world of Tamriel, and that's why they've disappeared and we're never going to see them, because they know that, with the coming eras and stuff like Skyrim and, all these other future games and stuff, like it just gets even worse.
No, I think that the Psijic Order put them in these shards of glass and they're floating out in space. If you guys know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not following that one. What's the joke for that one?
It's a Star Wars or a Superman reference. So Zod and his. Oh, never mind.
Oh, sorry, I ruined it.
You ruined it. What if the Psijic Order just has all of the Dwemer on their own little island in a Psijic bubble, just like Artaeum is, and they're just floating off into a random direction. So
I guess for a lore way, what if the world is going to actually end and Tamriel is actually going to die, and the only way for them to save it is for the Dwemer to come back and to reinsert themselves to save the world again.
Yeah.
I could see that, but I think that was probably the reason why they left.
Right. I mean,
like, nah, we're out.
The Dwemer is the race that I think everybody actually wants to see, just because, in every game, we hear about the Dwemer and the Dwemer and the Dwemer. We just haven't seen them yet. I mean, Minotaurs would be great, obviously. We got a bunch of those.
That's what Hack the Minotaur picked. He was, yeah. And, they have like passives as they're getting damaged, they gain more weapon and spell damage, like it's just inherently built in, or they gain resistances and all kinds of weird, like really cool things.
Right.
Okay. What about a skill line? If you were to add a new skill line, what would it be?
You mean like a weapon?
Yep.
So
weapon.
You guys have talked about this, and I think I have the solution to your madness. Okay. What about a magic scythe? A melee magic scythe. I love scythe. That's one of my favorite weapons in any game ever. I don't know. There's not that many like animes or anything out there like about them, and I've never seen them lore wise. But a magic scythe I would absolutely love. They just find this cool magic scythe. I know it's not in the lore, and they would never do it because of that. They'd rather do like something you've suggested with the like animated weapons is what they would do probably before a scythe. But I would love a scythe. Focuses on like big AoE damage and basically melee magic.
That'd be cool. I think they do need a melee magic something, whatever that is.
And give us the same weapon damage as running a two-hander. Okay? Please.
Yes. And while we're doing that, can we get the bow damage to match a two-hander damage?
Yes.
Like I don't get it. So
so I think with the bow thing, I think it's just because like it's from range, So if you're doing the same amount of damage from range as opposed to somebody from two-hander, it's like, why would you ever play two-hander when I can do the same amount of damage from so far away?
You might
that's just me thinking off the cuff, like right now.
Yeah, I think that's why it is.
Yeah. I think
it's too
strong.
Can you imagine how many Nightblades would now be in Battleground Snipe? And we already see a bunch of them. Can you imagine how many there will be if they just got a big buff like that?
I have to quote Joby here from Upper Echelon Gaming. Stop confusing me with your rational thinking and facts, Icy.
Oh, jeez.
That's what he would say. So you guys might be right, though, I guess. But I guess it's most of the time the people that are using the bow are a little bit more squishy, but if you could do the same damage as a two-hander, not be squishy, then that'd be the way to play, right? So plus bows have bombard, so
Oh gosh.
that's a win.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Rotten. You know,
Yeah.
making Bombard great again.
Yeah, he's out there on every single class. He has a magic sorcerer, and instead of crystal frags, he's got bombard.
Oh no. Oh man.
That might be a thing. I don't know. If you had to create a class, what would the class be?
So I thought a lot about this, and I don't have a specific, like, Warden 2.0 or anything like that. But what I do have is I want it to be a stamina-based class, to where instead of all the skills being magic-based, all of them be stamina-based. And then you can have magic morphs like they have stamina morphs, but have stamina heals and stamina tanky stuff that all just base is stamina. And then you can morph it into a magic user.
Okay.
That's different. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I have a pet peeve, and it comes with a lot of the classes in the game, and I think they need a little bit of updating. But when it comes to a class, I think they should have at least one thing, and well, I should say two things, but one of them everybody has, and that's Major Resolve. Every class should be able to have it. Gives you a bonus, not just Major Resolve when you get it. Give it like when it morphs, gives you like a little bit of buff or like a super long duration. But the one thing I think, especially the old classes, should have is a way to get Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, but you want to actually use it. Like I was talking, like on the Nightblade, we have was like the Sap Essence or whatever.
Yeah.
You never want to hit that. Like if I'm trying to just run, regular potions in Vet Vatashram, it feels really bad to me to actually have to hit that instead of Swallow Soul. Where on something like a Sorcerer, I hit it and now I'm getting healed. Or the reason why I originally went on sort of the rant is because the Warden, not only does it give you whichever buff you want, it gives you resources back, and I think it's free. Like, and it can cleanse dots off you. Like, I just want every class, and this class, it's the only reason I bring it up because this class would have to have it. Every class should have a easy way to get the Major Sorcery and Major Brutality, and have a benefit for having it up, and not just like Degeneration where you just get it, or the dual wield skill, Hidden Blade or whatever, and you just get it from there. But give you a reason to have it, because especially as a stamina user, it really bugs me that I can't get Major Brutality from anything other than Hidden Blade, which unless you're running like Vatashram one-handers, it's just not very good. And other than that, the Werewolf, I think you get it from the Werewolf skill, but it doesn't do anything for you. You just get it. Or Rally, which Rally is great, but I don't want to have to run a two-handed, weapon on every build without having to spam potions. My Stamina Nightblade build, the Bobo build, was great, but it's hard for a lot of people to run it because I am chugging, crit pots and weapon power pots. I'm just chugging them. I went through just making the video. I think I went through like 400, pots, 400 or 500 pots just from making the video, and I've went through another 400 or 500 since then by just using it. Every class should have it. They need to update. I know Necromancer is a new class, and I don't think they have a easy way to get it either. But I think it's just something that every class should have. I don't think it should be tied to a passive either. Just give you a bonus for having it up and make people want to use it. I don't want to put stuff on my bar that I don't like. We don't have that many skills, and I want to be able to put something on a bar I want to use and not just have to use.
I feel like for the Necro, since the Necro relies on a lot of corpse play, I feel like if they just somehow made like a Major Sorcery or Major Brutality mechanic that, when you interact with a corpse with a whatever the offensive tree is called, you get the buff. I feel like that's one way to do it.
Yeah, you want
on the tether.
Yeah, like you want to have something that you want to hit. Like I don't want to, like as a Nightblade, I don't ever want to hit the Sap Essence unless I'm AoEing. If I just want to get it on a on a target, I don't want to have to hit it. It does nothing for me other than give it to me and gives me a little bit. Because someone's like, well, what if when you hit it, whether you hit somebody or not, you get it? I'm like, that's fine, and I would sort of take it, but I still don't know if I'd ever run it. because it doesn't give me anything. It's no benefit for me. Where like the Netch is insane because it gives you so much things for so little cost that it's just like bonkers. And the Sork, you get it and you can get healed off it. Like it's crazy. I want that level of major sorcery because every class has to have that for everything. I guess tanking you don't have to have it. But I think even healers run it, I imagine, right? You want that extra spell damage. You might not run it on a healer, but for all DPS classes, it's just an absolute must. And you can get it from multiple different ways, but you want to enjoy getting it.
Yeah. Netch is really silly because if you take the Bull Netch, the stamina version, by having it on your bar, you get, what, 2% extra weapon damage. When you activate it, it will cleanse something. It will also heal you when you activate it because of your passives, your animal companion passives. And it also gives you the major brutality buff, and you get stamina back from it. Like, what?
Yeah, or you're a Nightblade and you hit a sap essence that you never actually want to hit, and you know, hopefully they're in range for it to go off.
Right. Yeah. So I think I 100% agree with that. Every class needs access to major brutality, major sorcery on its own. And I think they need to take the Templar defensive rune and move it up in the skill tree order, because most of the other classes get their defensive buff fairly early, and you don't get yours until like level 30 or 40 or something like that on a Templar. So from a PvP perspective, you're fighting at a disadvantage. So
Yeah, I made a video recently about sort of a new player tier list for PvE.
mhm.
And one thing that's extremely common in almost every early, all the original base 4 classes, especially if you're a stamina user, since they moved the two-hander, is you have almost no AoE. The Nightblade gets no AoE until you either get it from the two-hander, which is the third skill, or the dual wield, which is the third skill as well. Where classes like Templar, even the Warden, where they don't have a spammable AoE, at least they get their bugs. I forget what they're called.
Shocks
Shocks.
or
Yeah.
petrifies?
They also have that ice that they can, the
Right.
burst that they can lay down on the ground that immobilizes, and then even their Arctic Blast or whatever does pulses AoE damage.
Yeah, so when I was doing the tier list, I was like, I was explaining to people, and I was like, look, these classes are great. Like Magic or the Stamina Sorcerer, I put like pretty far down the list, and I was like, look, this class is insane for PvE once you get a few things. Once you get, your Dark Deal, this class is the stamina just ramps up to 100. Goes from 0 to 100 as soon as you get Dark Deal, or for the stamina version, you got to have the AoE. Brawl, or I forget the Carve, used to be the first or second skill you got in the two-hander. I think it was the first. So you always had access to an AoE. The Destruction Staff, the second ability, I believe, has an AoE, which is great. I think that every class should have an ability to, because when we're leveling, we're just trying to get through it as fast as possible. You can level the skill lines as you go. You don't have to use it. You just put them on your bar. So it's not like it matters really what weapon you use. You're going to level it faster, but there just needs to be a way for some of these classes to get AoE. And I know not everybody grinds like me, but even so, when you're doing quests, there's a lot of times where you want to AoE. And if you're a Stamina Nightblade, you don't really have access to it until you're like level 20-ish or something like that.
Yeah. Why do you think that there are still abilities that when you go to morph them, there's not a stamina option and a magic option? There's still abilities in some of the classes, like the whips, as an example for the DK. Both options are still magic options. Why do you think that is?
Man, have we been wanting a Stamina Whip for so long?
Yeah.
Like, oh man, they gave us what do they call it? Poop Rock.
Yeah.
Is what I've heard it called.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I put out a video a while ago, and it really has like almost no views. But I played Elion for a while, and they have a system to where it has a bunch of different ways you can morph something. And I was like, oh, you know what'd be great if Elder Scrolls, and this is going to be, they're never going to do this because it just take way too much development time for what they have. But what if every ability, other than weapon abilities, had at least 1 stamina, 1 magic? But I was like, what about 2 and 2? 2 magic abilities and 2 stamina abilities for each of your class ability morphs. Because as a stamina user, and that's part of the reason why I was like, if I want to build a class, I want it to be a stamina base. Because as a stamina user, yes, you are S tier in almost every class when it comes to PvP, like 1v1s. You are literally, the best. Just because how strong the weapon hits. And weapon damage is really a big part of that because of how high you can get your weapon damage. But what if, they actually, because you play a stamina sorcerer, and it's a great class. I love playing it. I've been playing the build that actually you put out with the Briarheart Unleashed, and I've been playing the crap out of that, and I love it. But it would have been really nice to have way more stamina morphs to be able to customize your build more, not have to, use the same build, because most stamina builds are almost exactly the same. Necromancer and Warden get a lot more tools to their kit because of just how, I don't want to say broken they are, but their class, they built these classes way later so they could really fix their abilities, because at the beginning of the game, as I'm sure I think Grim knows, I don't think Icy was around for this, but there were no stam morphs for your class abilities.
Yeah.
There wasn't. Stamina was not a thing. There technically was a thing. You'd see people sniping, but there wasn't any stamina morphs for your class abilities. So they didn't even have it on their radar when they came out with the game. So they're just still kind of like working back from it over and over again. I still think that they've got a long way to go when it comes to that, but I think they're just partly worried because stamina is so overbearing, and a lot of that's the weapon damage plus the proc sets. The proc sets are way better for stamina users than they are magic users, other than the Vate Staff, which arguably is better on a stamina user than it is a magic user. But I think they're just really worried about giving stamina too many tools because they already have such top tier tools for what most people think of. Because I put out a poll today and I was like, what type of build do you want to see? Do you want to see a BG build, a group Cyrodiil build for like AoE damage, a healer for Cyrodiil, a group tank for Cyrodiil, or a 1vx? And of course, like 60% of the people picked 1vx when it is 3% of the population actually I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that it's actually 3%, but 3% of the population actually 1vx is where everybody wants to see the 1vx. And so that's what ZeniMax sees. They're like, look at all these clips of this guy just going out there, and it's almost all stamina users. Now, there are some, especially like Sork and stuff like that, and you can do it on any class. If you're good enough, you can 1vx, because, nothing against anybody that 1vx is. You're not fighting people that are your skill level. Because, obviously, if you are fighting someone your skill level, you're not going to 1vx because it's going to be even. So you can do it on any class, but stamina has a lot easier time of doing it than magic in a lot of cases. So I think they see that, and they're just so scared of really bumping that up because of Battlegrounds and what a lot of people want to run, that they're just kind of like, we'd rather just not touch it and not give you the stamina whiff that we've been wanting for years. Please, stamina whiff sauce. Whip it, please.
I always joke that there's somebody sitting at the office and they're like, no, you're not touching my mag DK, but I don't know if you had heard, but I just said, just combine the 2 whips, make it a little bit lesser version, but the functionality of both whips, just combine it into one. There's your Magicka whip, and then get a stamina whip in there. So
I didn't see that, but that's basically kind of what I was suggesting too. Like when I've talked to people about it, I'm like, I don't even care if you make some of these abilities like really good. You can always tune them down, but like whip it's not that great. Like it's a good magic ability, but it's not as good as some other classes. Part of it's resource cost, because just Dragon Knights are horrible on resource cost. But if you added them together, I don't even think you'd even have to touch it. Even if you didn't change it, you probably would have to maybe lower it a little bit on the damage side. Or maybe it's a little bit less of its utility, but I think you could just do that and it would be perfectly fine. You're not going to run into, every Dragon Knight like it was in the beginning of the game, just absolutely nuking everybody down with their whip.
That's true. You know, I didn't even think of that, but the Mag DK's costs for the abilities are so high anyways. You just combine both of them. Don't even nerf it at all or adjust it. Just combine both the abilities and call it a day.
Yeah, and what's the worst that can happen? They're on top tier again, because when's the last time a Mag DK has been top tier?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, you know, Stamdens and Stamcrows, and so
Yeah, because let's be honest, even if they buffed it and it was super insane, that would only its ceiling would be a Stamcrow or a Stamden. Like that would be that's its ceiling, is to be equal to the other two. Now, obviously, Dragonites are great at like big AoE damage as well, but we're not talking. They're not going to use whip in big AoE situations. So their
right.
ceiling is being equal to other classes where their floor is a lot lower.
So we got about 5 minutes. Do you have any questions for us or other topics that you wanted to bring up?
No. Well, I guess we have one. So I know you guys talked a lot about champion points. What if, and I had a discussion with a couple people the other day, if they made it to where you could even make the level cap 60, and if everybody has a level 50, they just instantly go to 60. But make the champion point system a slottable system where it's just slottable passives. So you can do still the same 4, and then maybe make it to where it's like 5 of the actual passives that you get, or maybe more, you can put in and you could slot them that way as well. That way they can really tailor the champion point system. They can put some crazy stuff in there, because it allows everybody to kind of pick and choose what they want. And the one thing that I suggested, and I know this is kind of like, this is going to be a lot of information, but I was like, you could do something where if you hit 1,000 or 500 champion points, we're going to give you this amount. If you've hit 1,000, we're going to give you like this amount. Because that's what they did when they went from a sub-only model to a buy-to-play model, is they gave us amount if you sub for so long. But they can make like a little tier list where if you have a certain amount of champion points, you can get this mount. We'll give it to you for free. And then they can monetize it by giving you like little, not sticker books, but basically a way for you to save certain setups and have it where you buy them on the cash out for like 1,000 or 2,000 gold per character. And instead of having to redistribute them, spending the 3,000 gold, you can just go in there and do like a little drop down tab and be like, all right, this is my, sort of like we have for the our outfits. And we just be like, okay, we want this setup. And it just instantly puts them in there and we don't have to worry about it.
So, since we're coming close on time, I actually like that idea, and it makes me wonder if, say, we do this route. Well, and we'll say, well, instead of 4 slottables, we'll say, we'll do 5 slottables, but then just get rid of all the non-slottable passives, because at the end of the day, those non-slottables, I think, are causing more of the problem where, oh, it's not fair because I need like this much CP to be viable. But if you just made it slottables right from the start, then if we're going to say increase the slottables to 5, then you only need 250. Well, I guess 250 times 3, right, for each of the crafting things. So 750 CP to be viable. And that, well,
Right.
I mean, that's if you're, you have 5 slottables that are maxed out. But if you just want slottables, say at the first rank, then you just need like what, 200, 300 CP, whatever, just to have 5 slottables at the lowest rank, and boom, problem solved.
Yeah, and then it just comes down to which ones did they select. You know, I'm at 1480 CP, and 2 out of the 3 trees, I have all my slottables selected and every single possible passive selected, and I have points just sitting there. I can't do anything with it. So I think that their adjustment that they made, I mean, the cap is 3,600. Why am I sitting here with points that I can't do anything with? So
Yeah, my last question is, does anybody actually play to grind their champion points? Like, will they lose more players if they get rid of the champion point system versus gain players? Because I've had a lot of people say, look, I don't want to play because there's just too many champion points I need to get. I'm just way too far behind. I'll never catch up. Like, will they lose more than they gain? Because I don't see that even possible.
I think people would be mad, furious, livid if they got rid of the champion point system. But I can honestly say for myself, I've never really grinded outright for champion points. I've just been playing the game naturally, and I just like I'm at 1550, I think, and I've just been playing. I play every day, but I'm just doing my normal stuff. I'm not grinding Skyreach. I'm not grinding normal Black Rose Prison. I'm just playing the game. So for me, the 1500 grind, or no, I can't even say grind, the 1500 champion points, I'm just playing the game normally. I haven't, for me, it's been like nothing.
Yeah, we got enough stuff to grind. We don't need to grind champion points.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't want people to stress themselves out about that. And I think from a PvP standpoint, if you don't have CP, or if you're on the low end of the CP, you could go into CP Imperial City, or CP Cyrodiil. Like when you run into people, you're gonna know it. There's just gonna be, they've got 10%, 20% more damage, 10%, 20% more recoveries, 10%, 20% more mitigation. Like you'll feel it. Against the NPCs, any amount of CP that you're stacking on, you'll just get stronger and stronger against them. So there's that. But if you don't like any of that, just jump into no CP, start accruing your champion points, and then when you jump out of there, go ahead and assign them. So,
Right.
Okay, time to close it out. We've got you on YouTube. We got you on Twitch. Do you have a Patreon? Where can everyone find you at?
Mainly just those two. I do have a Twitter. It's also Parfax Gaming. I have pretty much everything else, but I haven't quite started like getting those up and running yet. So really no need to go follow those. But yeah, mainly YouTube and Twitch, and then Twitter as well. That's where I just post, everything about what's going to go on streaming wise and stuff like that.
Okay. And then what's the best way people can help you out? Do you have a tip jar? You're still working on Patreon? Do you have merchandise? Like, what could they do to help you?
Right now, mainly just come and hang out on, Twitch, or, obviously go watch some of my videos on YouTube. I'm lucky. My wife, she does very well for us currently, and, situation's a little bit different than normal. So we get plenty of money when it comes to that. So I'm not really asking for anything along those lines. I'm about to hit my third sub, or my third icon, or little Twitch, whatever you call it, the subs, or the, what do you call them, the emotes. About to hit our third one there. But yeah, mainly just come watch and hang out. We have a lot of fun, and we laugh. I tell corny jokes that are cringy, and my wife hates them. But yeah, just come watch, and that's all I really care about.
Oh, well, I got to come for that alone. So, well, that's all we have, Icy.
Cool. All right, and with that said, we'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.
See ya.
Oh, Parfax, you can say bye too.
Okay, bye.
You're going to say bye-bye, Argonians.
Bye-bye, Rogonian.